Hello, I'm Raj Chengappa from India Today, and we are walking with the Bharat Jodo Yatra on the route to Jalandhar. As you can hear, there is the Bhangra dance going on. It's typical Punjab style. There's a lot of fun, it's like a mela here. And I have with me Jairam Ramesh, who's the boss man in terms of communication and has been walking with Rahul Gandhi. Jairam, so far, you have covered how many days and, how many kilometers?
Well, we have done almost 3,400 kilometers, 3,350 or thereabouts. We are on the 122nd day. We are in Jalandhar district. We do Hoshiarpur tomorrow. And then we go to Himachal for a day and then get back to Pathankot for the final rally in Punjab on the 19th before we go to Jammu. And then thereafter to Kashmir.
So how many states covered so far?
So we've done 12 states so far, starting from Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, Andhra, Telangana, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Haryana, Delhi, UP, then back to Haryana, then Punjab, and now Himachal, Jammu and Kashmir remain.
Now, you've almost come to the end of your yatra. Another 10 days or so you'll be over with. What is the big takeaways you find in this whole yatra that has happened so far?
Well, I think two things are very, very clear to me. That there has been organizational revival, that this is a lifesaver, a Sanjeevani for the Congress organization, particularly the younger workers, the younger office bearers, who had gone into a deep funk after 2014 and perhaps went into a deeper funk after 2019. And they're seeing now the blueprint of a rejuvenated, revitalized Congress. So I think the spirit of unity, the spirit of solidarity, the spirit of discipline that has permeated the Bharat Jodo Yatra in state after state is one very, very clear and visible, palpable consequence of the Yatra. The second consequence of the Yatra that I see is a complete transformation in the way Mr. Rahul Gandhi is perceived both internally as well as by the external world. He had been lampooned, he had been caricatured by the BJP. The social media had besmirched his image. But I think in the last 122 days, the real Rahul Gandhi has emerged. And I think that's, as I said, it's not a cause for the Yatra, but it's a consequence of the Yatra.
And who's the real Rahul Gandhi?
The real Rahul Gandhi is the one you're seeing. Caring, compassionate, listening, arguing, giving his point of view, asking your point of view, trying to figure out, what is a common way forward. I'm reminded of what Albert Camus once wrote, which Nelson Mandela made famous, where he said that, "Don't walk in front of me, I will not follow. Don't walk behind me, I will not lead. Walk with me, and I will walk and work with you towards a collective purpose." And I think that's the real Rahul Gandhi. I mean, he's not saying I have all the answers. He's not saying main. He's not saying mera. But he's saying, look, we have issues of economic inequality. We have challenges of social polarization. We have serious issues of political authoritarianism and neglect of the Constitution. Let's work together. Let's find a common sense of purpose. I mean, I think that's the real Rahul Gandhi rather than the caricature that was made of him by the BJP.
And what are the key objectives of the Yatra, if you had to sum it up?
Well, I would say the first and most important objective was organizational revitalization.
Which you said in some senses you achieved.
But whether we can sustain that unity and solidarity and discipline is crucial.
Okay.
So that's, I think, one central purpose. The second central purpose was to bring the Congress into the battlefield of ideology.
Right.
The Congress had become an election machine.
Right.
The Congress had become a party that sought power for power's sake. And it was natural. It's India's oldest party, fought for freedom, governance, and so on. I think what the Bharat Jodo Yatra has tried to do, and what Mr. Rahul Gandhi has tried to do, is to sharpen our ideological claws.
Right.
And he identified three issues, right? He identified the issue of economic inequality.
Right.
He identified the issue of social polarization,
Right.
religion, caste, language, region. And he identified the issue of political authoritarianism. Now, this is the battlefield of ideas. And he's been saying from day one that there are two ideologies. There's an ideology of the RSS and the BJP that is for uniformity, that is for basically rejecting India's diversity,
Right.
or using diversity to divide us. And there's the Congress ideology that celebrates diversity and that sees the celebration of diversity as an instrument of strengthening our unity. So clearly there are two ideologies. And I think one purpose of the Bharat Jodo Yatra was to reposition the Congress in this ideological arena.
Right.
We were in the electoral arena,
Right.
but we had vacated the battle space of ideas and ideology to the BJP and the RSS. And that we are now rediscovering. It's a small step.
Right.
It's a small step. I want to say this is a small step.
Right.
I think what we do after the Yatra is completed on the 30th,
Right.
we are embarking on what is an awesome, gigantic task of reaching out.
That's what I wanted to ask you. What is the plan, after this? Okay.
Announced the Haath Se Haath Jodo Abhiyan,
Right.
which is really a gigantic plan for the Congress.
Right.
I don't think it's been attempted before. 230,000 gram panchayats,
Right.
6 lakh villages, 10 lakh election booths, and our Congress workers are going to go house to house,
Right.
door to door, with this message of Rahul Gandhi on the Bharat Jodo Yatra, a charge sheet against the failures and the false promises of the Modi government, and basically to project what the Yatra was all about and what needs to be done later. Now this Abhiyan is starting on the 26th of January,
Right.
and it's a 2-month Abhiyan. It will go up to the 26th of March. And the scale is mind-boggling. To reach 10 lakh
Right.
election booths, voting booths, to reach 230,000 gram panchayats and 6 lakh villages. And then we will have Mahila Yatras
Right.
in every capital city. So there'll be about 29 or 30 Mahila Yatras, basically in, say, Bangalore or Chennai, Lucknow,
Right.
Kolkata, and so on. So this 2-month period is crucial for us, because then we get into election mode. Then we get into things that
Right.
we know very well.
Right.
We have 9 states coming for elections. in
Of those 9 states, which do you think, what would be the importance of these 9 states to the Congress?
Well, we must win 4 out of the 9. We must win, of course, more, but we have a very strong chance.
These 4 are?
I would say we have a very strong chance, and we are the front runner in Karnataka. We must retain Chhattisgarh. We must retain power in Madhya Pradesh. Madhya Pradesh, we were toppled in March of 2020. Rajasthan, I think, is doable. Many people think that Rajasthan switches every 5 years, but that's not automatic. Jayalalitha broke that model in Tamil Nadu, if you recall. So it is possible to break that sequence in Rajasthan because of the initiatives taken by the Ashok Gehlot government. So at least 4 or 5 states, if we win in 2023, I think that would be a great tribute to the Bharat Jodo Yatra. Although Mr. Gandhi has been at pains to stress, and others too have been at pains to stress, that the Bharat Jodo Yatra was not a election Jito Yatra. It was not a Chunao Jitao Yatra.
Right. But that is, the other issue when you're looking at the states that's there. Has the Yatra, you've had leadership tussles in Rajasthan, you've had leadership tussles in Karnataka that we are seeing. Has the Yatra in any way helped in resolving some of these issues, or at least bringing some sort of understanding of how to proceed?
Well, You know, my mind goes back to a video interaction that Mr. Gandhi did in Raichur.
Right.
You know, at the end of every state,
Right.
he brings all the state leaders together and does a 1 hour interaction amongst them. Very interesting. And he did this in Raichur. And the first question, all the Karnataka leaders were there, and this video is available on the social media. So he asks Mr. Siddaramaiah ji, what do you think is DK's greatest strength? So Siddaramaiah is nonplussed for a moment. Then he turns to DK and he says, DK, what is Siddaramaiah ji's greatest strength? So, you know, trying to break down barriers.
Right.
He did this in Rajasthan, he did this in Madhya Pradesh.
Rajasthan, what happened between Sachin and Gehlot?
It was animated conversation, asked similar questions of both of them. And, you know, clearly, publicly he has said that both of them are great assets to the party, which we have to accommodate each other's worries and concerns. No, I think, Raj, to be honest, for the period of the Bharat Jodo Yatra, there has been unity, there has been solidarity, there has been a sense of collective purpose. Now, if you ask me,
Right.
will it be sustained?
Right.
Will it continue after the Yatra? We must try to ensure that it is sustained. It's
Right.
not automatic. But I think what the Bharat Jodo Yatra has done is infused in the Congress a sense of collectivity. You know, there is Mr. Rahul Gandhi has benefited from connectivity. The Congress party has benefited from collectivity. I think these are the two great takeaways. One for the organization, collectivity, and one for the individual, connectivity. Connectivity to your own organization, connectivity to the external world.
Now, that comes to the real purpose of why did the Bharat Jodo Yatra come about? I mean, what was the triggering factors?
No, I think, you know, at Udaipur there was a discussion on what is it that we can do completely different, something that is dramatic, that will show to our party workers that we are serious about reviving ourselves, and also show to the political establishment, political class, that the Congress party is still a force to reckon with. 2014, we had a debacle. 2019 was also a debacle because we did far worse than we expected we would. We thought that we would get at least 3 times the number of seats that we ended up getting. So it was a debacle in that sense of the term. So there was, after 2019, there was migration of people from our party. There was a sense of disenchantment, disappointment, disillusionment. I know some people in depression, you know. So Udaipur was really conceived of as a Atma Chintan Shivir. Look, let's get together, let's put our minds together. This was
May 2022. Yeah.
This was on the 13th, 14th and 15th of May.
Right.
And our Congress President then, Mrs. Gandhi. Personally, I know some people were cynical about having the Chintan Shivir. We've had Chintan Shivers in the past. But she single-mindedly, single-mindedly and single-handedly said, no, let's do it. And let's put our heads together. So 3 days we were in Udaipur, and on the 15th of May, in her final remarks, she announced this Kanyakumari to Kashmir Bharat Jodo Yatra. And I think in the back of her mind, in the back of Mr. Rahul Gandhi's mind, and all other senior Congress leaders, Mr. Kharge was there, Mr. Digvijay Singh was there, our chief ministers were there, many of our general secretaries, like our general secretary organization was very much involved, Mr. Venugopal. So in the back of their minds was that we must do something that will capture the imagination of our workers, it will capture the imagination of the country, and show that the Congress is dead serious about coming back on the path of revival. Now, for Mr. Gandhi,
That's what a question I wanted to ask you about Rahul Gandhi and his involvement. Why did it suddenly seem like he was the center of the yatra?
Mr. Gandhi was, was very reluctant to have the Bharat Jodo Yatra packaged or billed or marketed as a Rahul Gandhi-led yatra. He always told us that, look, I am one of the yatris. This is a yatra of the Congress party. There are hundreds. We were 120 when we began. We are now 200. There are over 100 Bharat Yatris, and I am one of them. So he was very particular that it should not be billed as one man's yatra. Although, later on he said it's a form of tapasya for him and so on. But the other thing that distinguishes Mr. Gandhi's approach to the yatra and the approach of most congressmen and congresswomen, because most Congress people thought of this yatra in terms of reviving the electoral fortunes of the Congress. But Mr. Gandhi, from day one, has been stressing the yatra as an instrument of sharpening the ideology of the Congress. And I think that's what it was less electoral for him and more ideology and ideas for him. Organization, of course, we are a political party. We exist to fight elections, win elections. So uppermost in the minds of every Congress worker is how will it matter in an election?
That's a very important thing, the political outcome of it. What is the political outcome will be?
I think he was more interested. He was less interested in the short-term political outcome.
Right.
As much as he was in ensuring that this is a vehicle for bringing ideological clarity.
Right.
May not bring ideological purity, but may bring ideological clarity. I think that's what his main intention was through. And I think the yatra then became a combination of the two. Because if it was an electoral yatra, then we would have suspended the yatra and gone for campaigning in Gujarat, gone for campaigning in Himachal. We didn't do that.
Right.
Because I think the consistent messaging was that this has got nothing to do with elections.
Right.
This has to do with sharpening the ideology,
right,
taking on the RSS ideology and bringing to public, awakening the nation's conscience to these three fears, to these three threats to Indian unity, which is growing economic inequality, deepening social polarization, and the reality of political authoritarianism.
Now I noticed that you direct Rahul Gandhi and the Congress directly attacks the BJP, more the RSS. That is a thing. Earlier it was Modi, but now it seems the RSS is the brunt of the attacks. What's the reason behind that?
You can't distinguish the RSS is the ideological fountainhead of the BJP. Although I know that there are many elements in the RSS who are deeply unhappy with Mr. Modi's economic policies. But that's inevitable. Ultimately, governance, you have to make a lot of adjustments. But, to think that the BJP is different from the RSS is still not right. And the fact that the BJP is in power has given the RSS a new voice, a new respectability, a new position in the nation's discourse. So whenever Mr. Mohan Bhagwat speaks, it's headlines as if, God is himself speaking. Of course, there are two gods. There's Mr. Modi and there is...
But he doesn't mention Narendra Modi so often, Rahul Gandhi.
Sorry?
He doesn't mention too often Narendra Modi. It's more the RSS.
Yeah, because it's not election centric. It's
right.
It's not an electoral yatra.
Right.
It's ideological yatra, and the BJP derives its ideology. It's the ideological brotherhood is pivoted on the RSS, and the BJP is the political face of the RSS. So we always talk of the RSS, BJP, RSS, BJP, RSS.
Right. I've got two final questions. One is on the G23. This was a movement that asked for various things. There seemed to be a lot of rumbling within the Congress. Where is that? Have all the issues, mentioned by the G23 been addressed? Where does it stand after this?
The G23, of course, cease to exist. And all of them have participated in, the Yatra enthusiastically. Kapil Sibal is no longer with the party, but welcomed the Bharat Jodo Yatra enthusiastically. And he's been very dignified in his exit, unlike Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad, who remains the only one of the G23 who is outside the party.
So let's look at the issues they talked about. Yeah,
Raised,
what were the key issues and where is that? One was, of course,
we have an elected president.
Right.
We have a plenary coming up
Right.
on the 23rd, 24th and 25th of February, or 24th, 25th and 26th of February in Raipur. Elections to the CWC have been announced. It will be held. And I think after Mr. Kharge has taken over as Congress president, of course, understandably, his tenure will pick up momentum once he gets ratified. The appointment becomes regularized, so to speak, after the plenary. But he has been taking steps to empower the local organizations. And through the Bharat Jodo Yatra, we are seeing the strengthening not only of the PCCs, but more importantly of the district Congress committees and the block Congress committees, who are really at the cutting edge of implementing the Yatra.
Now, my final...
A lot of these issues raised by the so-called G23 have in fact been addressed.
And my final question is, okay, you have raised all these big issues, whether it is GST, demonetization, unemployment, prices. What is the Congress going to do about it? You've raised the issue, created awareness in some senses. What is the Congress game plan?
Well, the Congress game plan will unveil itself once, if and when it gets a mandate from the people. But if you have been seeing our interventions in Parliament, if you have been seeing the resolutions that we have passed in earlier meetings of the CWC, we have been very clear as to what we will do and what we will not do. We will not indulge in mindless privatization of public sector that's going on. We will simplify dramatically, radically the implementation of GST. We will have a special regime for not only protecting but also promoting the MSME sector. We will address very meaningfully the problems of the Kisans that have been articulated by the Samyukta Kisan Morcha, particularly in terms of legal guarantee for MSP and so on, other issues that have been raised. We will dramatically increase public investment in health and education and reverse the trend that we are witnessing in terms of privatization of health and education. So I think broadly, it's, the broad contours. The specifics, of course, will get unveiled once we are in power. But, Mario Cuomo once said, former governor of New York, he said that you campaign in poetry and you govern in prose. So right now we are in the poetry stage.
And finally, the BJP has taken your entire welfare plank. I mean, they've appropriated, they do all the pro-poor schemes. What way is the Congress going to be different in terms of welfare schemes?
Well, you're right. I mean, although in the process of doing so, Mr. Modi has had to recant on his earlier positions. He was against the National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. He's now become its great champion. He was against the Food Security Act. He's now claiming credit for it. So yes, I mean, there is a lot of welfareism in what the government is doing. See, governance is both continuity and change. Mr. Modi's greatest problem is that he has never acknowledged the continuity in governance. I think he's the only Prime Minister I know, and I'm a student of Indian political history, a very serious student, that who has never acknowledged, and I said so myself in my speech when the Prime Minister was present in the Rajya Sabha. I said that Mr. Modi should acknowledge continuity in governance, and if he acknowledges continuity in governments, he may find the opposition recognizing change in governance.
No, so that comes to the question of what difference will the Congress bring on welfare? They've already got these huge welfare schemes.
Well, the Congress will certainly make sure that the welfare schemes that are announced are actually meaningful. For example, the social security schemes that have been announced remain headline schemes. They don't remain schemes which are delivering tangible benefits to workers in the unorganized sector. So that's, one has to look at some of these schemes. The most important scheme, of course, which the Congress has announced, which Mr. Gandhi has spoken right through the Bharat Jodo Yatra, is the Nyay scheme, which is the universal basic income scheme, which is a scheme that was unveiled for the 2019 manifesto, which ensures a basic income of 6,000 rupees per poor family per month. So it's 72,000 rupees per year per poor family. And Mr. Gandhi has repeatedly stressed that this is the single biggest big idea of the Congress if and when it comes to power. In 2004, we gave the right to employment and right to information. In 2009, we gave the right to food. And I think in 2024, if we come to power, the big idea will be the right to a basic income.
So here we are with Jairam Ramesh. We've talked to him about all the key issues as well as what is forward. We are walking towards Jalandhar. After this, there's another day in Punjab before it reaches Jammu and finally at Srinagar. Jairam Ramesh, General Secretary of the Congress in charge of communications, thank you very much for talking to India Today. This is Raj Chengappa.